I might use that.
Don't.
I might use that too. Hey guys, now I'm going to be really honest with you. This is take 2. So there's going to be a bit in the middle where it shows me in a completely different outfit and without my haircut. So bear with me with this. But it's awesome that I'm able to come and share with you today to finish off our series where we've been talking about friendships. And today I want to talk to you about one of the hardest things about friendships. When they change. When they start to look different. Like, you know what I mean. Like when that friendship that was once great isn't so great. And I know I've had a few of them. I remember at the end of primary school, I was placed in a school where I didn't want to go. All my friends were going to a different school, and I got to the last day of the summer holidays, and I was just about to start year 7, and the next day, we get a phone call. And I got a place in the school where all my friends were going, and I wanted to go. So the following day after that, I got an extra 2 days of summer holiday. I start the school. And I find out that I was in totally different classes to all my friends. And even though I was in the same school as with them, I wasn't actually with anything. And that was really hard because my friends Callum, Craig and Richard, they were all in different classes. They were making new friends and I felt like I was on my own. Some of our friends from our old school with them, and I just felt like I had nobody. And it was funny because we didn't fall out. Like the only difference was we just didn't spend as much time with one another and we drifted apart. And it's in one sense we were still friends, but we never spent that time together and we weren't real friends. See, friendships are important and I think every one of you would agree with that. And how your friendships are going to have the potential to either make or break your day. When things in your friendships aren't going great, it can feel like your life is completely off balance, can't it? Like, bear with me as I explain what I mean. There are small things that happen day to day that can make your friendships either make them feel good or feel bad. And we have a positive and negative bucket right here. And if your friend doesn't show up at youth group or school, it can ruin your day and it can start filling our negative bucket. But when your friend calls you to go out with them, like the days are good in, and it can make us fill our positive bucket. Like when your friends share a post with other people and they're without you, that can feel pretty rubbish. But when they go out of their way to do something nice for you, like that's the best. Now, we would like only positive things to happen to fill our positive buckets, wouldn't we? But as we probably know and have experienced, life isn't always like this. Things aren't always balanced when it comes to our friendships. And it can feel like the not so good changes in our friendships can weigh us down. Maybe you feel like that you can't be yourself around that friend anymore. Or you can't be honest with them about how you feel. Or maybe you can't trust them with your secrets. Or they've done something that really hurt you. No matter the reason, I think at some point most of us have felt like our friendships are unbalanced. Just like the buckets. And that can be especially true right now in high school. If you've never felt this way before, stick with me because chances are you're going to experience this feeling at some point. And the reality is, friendships change. You can go. But what if I told you that changes in your friendships don't always have to be negative? What if there's a different way to think about the shifts that take place in our friendships? You may be glad to know that you aren't alone and experience this tension between friendships. You might not have heard of this story in the Bible, but there's a story about these two great friends called Paul and Barnabas. And these guys went through huge changes in their friendship, and I think we can learn a lot from their story. See, Paul and Barnabas, they were real friends. Like, they'd been to prison together, journeyed all over the world together, and not without their few arguments, because, let's be honest, we're all friends and we can all argue. But they were friends through it all. And like, seriously, they were a great team. They started churches, they walked for miles, and enjoyed some epic road trips, without the nice cars and without the nice hotels. But one day, they had a really big argument, and it changed their friendship forever. Here's what happened. Sometime later, Paul said to Barnabas, "Let us go back and visit the believers in all the towns where we preach the word of the Lord and see how they are doing." And Barnabas wanted to take John, also called Mark, with them. But Paul did not think it was wise to take him because he deserted them in Pamphylia and had not continued with them in the work. They had this disagreement. Paul and Barnabas argued over whether they should bring along another friend who used to be a part of their group of friends on the next road trip, John Mark. But what had happened is John Mark deserted them. Barnabas, forever the encourager, wanted John Mark to come with them and thought he deserved a second chance. Paul, on the other hand, thought history would repeat itself and John Mark would leave them again if he were to join them. See, there was two friends with two different people with two different perspectives. So what happened next? They had such a sharp disagreement over this, they parted company. Barnabas took Mark and sailed to Cyprus, but Paul chose Silas and left, and commended by the believers to the grace of God. Did you see that coming? In the Bible, these two guys who were really good friends had such a fallout that they decided to go their separate ways. All the work they did together, all the time spent together. This was huge change, but Paul and Barnabas had to both focus on what was best for them in that moment. For them, both the goal was to share the gospel. In order for them to both do that, they needed to take a step back from one another, choose different paths, and make a shift in their friendship. Do you know what? It didn't ruin their lives. In fact, they were able to both continue to help and encourage churches and help others like they wanted to. And I don't think this was an easy decision to make, but it meant that they were both able to continue to move forward with what they wanted to do. Here's what we can learn from Paul and Barnabas if we find ourselves in a similar situation. Friends change, and that's okay. Sometimes even our best, most real friendships, or the friendships we've had forever, things can change. And at first those changes might feel scary or bad, but that's not always the case. Sometimes change is totally okay. We meet new people to hang out with, and that's okay. We become interested in new things, and that's okay. We experience new things separately for the first time, that's okay. And we've added new friends to the friendship group, and it's made things different. That's okay. See, changes in our friendships don't always have to be negative, and I get it, they can be dependent on the situation. A lot of the time, it's normal for even the best friendships to change as you get older and go through new experiences. Thinking back to Paul and Barnabas for a moment, they changed their relationship because they knew it would lead to good things in their lives. And I know we don't always talk about stepping back from friendships, but sometimes it's okay to step back from friendships that are no longer good for us. Just like Paul and Barnabas did, we can walk away from a friendship that feels unbalanced or unhealthy, and that's not wrong. I know it might seem like an unkind thing to do at first, but it's not, or at least it doesn't have to be. After all, we see later in Paul's life he acknowledges John Mark. The reason he's fallen out with his friend is now his friend. And sometimes it requires us to step back to acknowledge something isn't working in our own friendships, and we need to move on. And that doesn't mean that we have to be mean about it, but it changes so you can continue to move forward, and we don't need to say bad things or post anything bad about them on Snapchat or even ignore them. We can still be kind towards them. You see, friends change, and that's okay. And I know this might not be an easy thing to talk about for some of you. In fact, I think changing our friendships on purpose can be really hard. But it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Sometimes you need to take a step back from a friendship that is no longer good for you to step forward to see what God has for you and what is good for you. And that good for you part, that's important. Stepping back from a friendship because you have one argument isn't what I'm talking about. But I think back to those buckets we spoke about. When a friendship isn't good for you and you need to make a change. So what do we do with this? How can we handle friendships that need to change? It's okay to think about those friendships that need to change. You can think about who your real friends are. Do you have friends that are encouraging you to make unwise and unhealthy choices? Or maybe you have friends who you know make you the better version of yourself. Knowing how your friends influence you, whether for the positive or the negative way, can help you figure out which friends are your real friends and which friends are your fake friends. And remember, it's okay to step back. If you realise you need to change a friendship, that's okay. Remember, just because a friendship needs to change doesn't mean it needs to end. It could just look like spending less time with that person. And maybe just don't tell them all your secrets or listen to their advice. Talking that through with some of the leaders here might be really helpful as you think about what changes need to be made. Lastly, it's okay to be kind. Better than that, it's important that you are kind. You may not want to be the best friends anymore, or your friendship might look different, but you can choose to still be respectful and value the person. Like we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, we still want to be the friends we want to have, even though others don't act the same. Remember, friends change and that's okay. My hope today is that all of you will have the courage to let friendships change when they need to. Because when you do, you're making a decision to move towards what's good, what's healthy for you and your life right now. And as a wrap up, enjoy chatting these thoughts through today as you build real friendships that start with real conversations and things that really happen.